Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In today's session, we'll be discussing the 8th and the 9th verses of this first chapter of the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. The 8th verse is as follows. Vethatvam saumya tatsarvam tatvatastad anugrahat bruyus snigdhasya shishyasya guravo guhyam apyuta. The meaning of this verse is, because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. Here there are many important terms. Saumya. The word Saumya means one who is pure and simple. And it is particularly applicable to a disciple. Anugrahat. The spiritual master bestows favor upon a disciple who is submissive. Snigdhasya shishyasya. Snigdhasya means one who is submissive. And they also reveal certain secrets. The Guru reveals certain secrets to the disciple who is submissive. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the secret of success in spiritual life is in satisfying the spiritual master and thereby getting his sincere blessings. So this is a very important fact of spiritual life. We cannot make progress in spiritual life if we are unable to satisfy the spiritual master. It is absolutely essential that a disciple satisfies the spiritual master in order to get his sincere blessings. Now, regarding satisfying the spiritual master, one of the Acharyas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, has explained in what is called as Guru Ashtaka, 8 stanzas on the spiritual master. He has said, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya aprasadan nagati kutopi. He says, I offer my respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. Only by his satisfaction can one please the personality of Godhead. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. If you are able to please your spiritual master, then you are able to please the Supreme Lord. You are able to please Krishna. When the spiritual master is dissatisfied, then there is only havoc on the path of spiritual realization. Yasya aprasadan. If the spiritual master is not satisfied, nagati kutopi, then you cannot expect to progress on the spiritual path. It is therefore said that a disciple must be very obedient and submissive to the bona fide spiritual master. Obedient and submissive. To obey, Srila Prabhupada says, is the first law of discipline. Disciple means discipline. Discipline means one has to obey the instructions of the spiritual master. Now, being submissive may be considered by some people as a negative quality. But here it is explained that submissive behavior in front of the spiritual master is a virtue, is required. Only then the spiritual master can reveal confidential knowledge. To a submissive disciple, he reveals confidential knowledge. Now, Suta Goswami fulfilled all these qualifications as a disciple. He was submissive, he was a gentle disciple, and therefore his spiritual masters endowed him with all the favors which are bestowed upon a gentle disciple. And he was favored by such learned and self-realized spiritual masters like Srila, Vyasadeva and others. He is fortunate to get the blessings of great, learned, self-realized spiritual masters like Vyasadeva. Now, the sages of Naimisharanya were confident about all these qualifications of Srila Suta Goswami. Therefore, they were anxious to hear from him. They want to hear. What has he learned? What has he assimilated by hearing from his gurus? The 9th verse. Tatra tatranjasa yushman bhavata yad vinishchitam pumsam ekantata shreyaha tanna shamsitum arhasi. The meaning of this verse is, please, therefore, being blessed with many years, Ayushman means one who is blessed with many years, long lifespan. Explain to us in an easily understandable way. Anjasa means something which is made easy. What you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Pumsam ekantata shreyaha. Pumsam means for the people in general. Ekantataha means that which is absolutely good. Shreyaha, absolute and ultimate good. Please explain to us. Here is the first question raised by these sages of Naimisharanya. They are asking the first question among a list of 6 questions that they ask in the entire chapter. So here is the first question. What is the first question? Please explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains very nicely in the purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, the worship of the Acharya is recommended. If at all you want to learn spiritual subject matter, you should engage in worshipping the Acharya. It's called Acharya Upasanam. Acharya Upasanam is described in the Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter in the 9th verse. There it is said, the principle of accepting a spiritual master as mentioned in the 7th verse, I'm sorry, not the 9th verse, the 7th verse, is essential. Even for one who takes to devotional service, it is most important. Transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. Accepting a spiritual master, Acharya Upasanam. Here, accepting means one has to first approach a spiritual master, request shelter, and then under his guidance, under his protection, one has to study the Vedic literature. This is called the principle of accepting a bona fide spiritual master. Now, the nature of the acharyas is such that the acharyas are always absorbed in the thought of well-being of the general public, especially their spiritual well-being. The acharyas, their concern is the well-being of the people. This is their concern for the general public, that how to ensure that people in general, they are properly situated for the sake of making spiritual progress in their life. Now, spiritual well-being is stressed here because it is explained that spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. Now, why spiritual well-being is stressed as absolute and ultimate good for people? Because we are essentially a spirit soul. So a spirit soul can have the well-being of a spirit soul is possible only when spiritual well-being is ensured. And as regards material well-being, that is automatic. No need for separate endeavor for material well-being. I'll give an example to explain this. Now, people are very anxious for their material well-being. Just like they are very anxious to have all the material necessities of life so that they can live comfortably and actually make progress in their material life. Now, what they do not know is that material necessities are secondary for a human being. The spiritual necessity is the prime necessity for a human being. What is difference between spiritual necessity and material necessity? Spiritual necessity is the needs of the soul have to be first considered before you consider the needs of the body. Why? Because we are essentially spiritual beings. We are encaged in a material body. So as spiritual beings, our spiritual needs are to be taken care of first. It is just like the example is given, a bird in a cage. Now, a bird in a cage, which is more important for the bird? The maintenance of the cage or the maintenance of the bird itself? Obviously, maintenance of the bird is more important than maintenance of the cage. If the bird inside the cage is neglected, but somebody is busy polishing the cage and keeping the cage in a very good condition, then the bird will starve and it will eventually, if not fed the essential food, then it will die even of starvation. Similarly, it's the soul which has to be first taken care before we take care of the body. Because the soul is the one that is actually responsible for the upkeep of the body. It is not the other way around. So therefore, spiritual well-being is primary and material well-being follows spiritual well-being. Therefore, the Acharyas are always anxious for the spiritual well-being of the people. Now, they are able to foresee that in this present age of Kali, or the iron age of quarrel, the people will neglect their prime necessities and become busy with something which is not so important. Just like here it is said, the people of this age are busy with the people of this age are busy trying to ensure their material well-being, while actually they should be primarily concerned with the spiritual well-being. So therefore, the sages are inquiring about the absolute good of the people, which is the ultimate good. They are inquiring how we can ensure that the absolute or ultimate good of the people can be made possible, especially because in this age, this is a unfortunate time that people are living. They are living in an age where they are condemned in every respect. The people of this age of Kali are described here as condemned in every respect. So the condemned state of affairs of the people of this age is described in the following verse. The next verse, we will hear the description. So therefore, the sages are very anxious about the spiritual well-being more than the material well-being.